I have Brock and CW Anderson here with me. We're going to be talking about MLW Summer of the Beasts. You guys are teaming up at the event. It's Thursday, August 29th. Fans can watch it for free on YouTube. It's next Thursday as we're recording. This is Brock's debut for MLW. CW, you're an MLW original. Uh, Obviously, there's a familial connection, but tell me how this was the right opportunity for you two guys to team up together.
This thing actually kind of just fell into place. It was one of those, and I've said this, and Brock and I even talk about this. We joke about it that this makes too much sense. That why wouldn't it be done?
Mhm.
And Brock and I have been tagging together for about a year now. We were lucky enough to live kind of close together, even though 3 hours apart isn't close. And we're working for a company here in North Carolina called AML. These guys run
Mhm.
WrestleCade. It's a huge event that happens at Thanksgiving weekend, and it was pitched about us, and then Brian Hawks and Tracy Myers actually made it happen.
Mhm.
And Brock and I, once we got together, just clicked. And Brian and Tracy and Arn collaborated and wanted us running together. Said it made a great, made great sense. And it's been something. Well, I think it's like about a year now, almost a year. Brock and I have been tagging together exclusively,
Mhm.
and it's been really enjoyable. And now, Court Bauer and MLW have taken us on, and we're getting ready to join them, and we're really excited about being a part of MLW. And of course, me being one of the originals, I knew like what working for Court was like, and I always enjoyed when we were doing the Extreme Horsemen there. And I'm ready for Brock to experience this, and we're ready for everybody to see what Brock and I can do as a tag team.
Yeah, you mentioned WrestleCade. Like that's such a fun weekend. I was there a few years ago, and I've wanted to go back ever since. But I don't know. One of these years, I'm going to make it happen. I mean, looking ahead, is that something that you guys want to do annually? Because I know you teamed against Devon's sons last year, right?
Yeah, that was
Is that
that was a lot of fun. This makes my ninth or 10th year, and we'll be doing it again this year.
okay?
And since Brock and I are a part of AML and we're their tag team champs, we'll be there. And you there when you were there, it's like Christmas for wrestling enthusiasts.
Mhm.
Anything you want, you get shows, you get to meet people and stuff like that. But Brock and I are planning to be a part of it again this year.
I like how MLW made a point to advertise you as distant cousins. So I want to have a little bit of fun with this next question.
All right.
Okay. Who,
I'll let
who
Brock take this one.
All right.
you can both answer because I think you
All right.
might have some input, but who would be the Lance Von Erich of the Anderson family if you
Uh,
could add somebody to the family tree?
ooh, currently in the business.
Sure.
C-Dub, you got any answers?
In
I
case
don't.
anybody's wondering, Lance Von Erich was not actually a Von Erich. He was
Yes.
added to the family,
Yeah.
kayfabed. He MJF played him in the Iron Claw briefly. You saw him
I'm
briefly in the movie last year.
I can give you
I'm
one. I think it'd get a huge pop if we walked out and then Powerhouse Willie Hobbs walked out behind us because he's a mean, gruff son of a bitch and he's got a nasty spine buster. If we walked out with Hobbs, I think that would turn some heads. I,
Yeah, we'd be the new version of the Dudleys.
yeah.
I like it. I like it. You could have a rematch with Terrence and Terrell at WrestleCade 2024 and, add a new wrinkle to that whole family dynamic with the
Yeah,
Dudleys.
Yes,
that would be
sir.
fun.
All right. So I mentioned you're CW, you're an MLW original. Is there anything that remains, like obviously court and like there's people still there, but is there any element of that original company that still remains today that you're particularly proud of?
Besides the name and court, just trying to keep that tradition of what MLW is. The Major League Wrestling, they're a hybrid. That's
Mhm.
what we were when it came across. You get everything. You get old school, you get the new school, you get the high flyers, you get the Japanese legends, and that was what court was really good at when we first came in, was bringing, because back then the Japanese guys weren't as well known as they are today. And when you were bringing Kojima over at the time, that was
Mhm.
unheard of. Bring Tanaka and guys like that. And then you had CM Punk, Homicide, guys, Sanjay Dutt that were just getting started. And you had us, Simon Diamond, Steve Carino, and then the older guys of Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes, such a hybrid of group of guys and meshing them all together. And Court has done that as well today, but even taking a little bit further with the newer style and embrace that. And it seems like it's working really well. And I'm proud that I'm one of the originals and also proud that I'm coming back to be a part of MLWs again.
You were part of the Extreme Horsemen stable. Obviously, that's a play on the Four Horsemen. Barry Windham was kind of in the mix for a little bit. How, like, he he had to have given his blessing in a way because he's participating in it. But did you receive a lot of pushback back then as far as using the Horseman name, or like
Well,
what
not a
was
lot of people know when we do that. Sorry, but I didn't mean to interrupt. But when
no, you're
we
fine.
started running there, you got guys now calling themselves horsemen that have never been. And horseman is such a sacred thing when it comes to professional wrestling. Since Arn came up with it, and they run as the Four Horsemen. When we didn't come up with the name, Dusty Rhodes came up with it when we were working for his TCW promotion, and he set myself and Steve Carino and Barry down and had this idea of calling us the Extreme Horsemen because Barry was one of the original Four Horsemen, and Steve and I came from the Extreme,
Mhm.
as was his words. So we started running that in TCW, and then we've always wanted Simon Diamond to be a part of it because Steve, Simon, and I were so close that when MLW came along, we pitched that. So the only pushback we've gotten is from fans because they call us ripoffs of the Horsemen and stuff. And we're using that name. We took it to a kind of a different level, being the Extreme, but we always try to do it honoring the Four
Mhm.
Horsemen. It was never anything like that. It was honoring those guys.
Mhm.
And still, at 31 years, I've still been doing the same thing. I've honor it with the Four Horsemen, honor it with Dusty giving it to us, and with Barry being a part of it. And Barry always give us his blessing and loved being a part of it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how like there's the four horsewomen of MMA, like you hear about Ronda Rousey and her friends, and then there's the four horsewomen of WWE. It's like it still is like almost like a polarizing thing. It's some fans will embrace it and they want to see them together on screen, and then some other ones are like, no, the horse, like there's only one horseman. So, I appreciate your explanation, but also doing it the right way, paying tribute to it. And I'll even go as far as saying, like, the two groups I mentioned today, like, they're also doing it as a sign of respect too. They're not doing
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
belittle. So
oh yeah,
I think fans should maybe think about that part
yeah.
a little bit more when they
Wrestling
criticize it.
wrestling evolves. Sometimes evolves in the wrong way. And a lot of us, especially the older generations, don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's going on today, or some of them don't like it. But as long as you're honoring what was put before you,
Mhm.
I have no problem with that because those are the ones that laid the foundation, laid the roadway for these ones today to be able to do that. And as long as you're honoring it, I have no problem with it, and go about it the right way. Just calling yourself that doesn't make you a horseman. And I think we went about it the right way because Steve and Simon and I would have never called ourselves the Extreme Horsemen, but Dusty and Barry honored us and blessed us with that. And when Barry was okay with it, then it
Mhm.
was it was all right. Ran with it from there.
Wanted to give this next question to Brock. You obviously left AEW, I believe it was in October of last year. Uh, what has your time in AEW prepared you for this opportunity with MLW? Anything, any takeaways that whether it was something you could carry over or something you would want to change? Any big takeaways as far as preparing for this next chapter of your career?
Yeah, I think just in the sense of being thrown into, I don't think a lot of people know that my very first match was on national television. It was that tag match with Cody against QT and Aaron Solo. I didn't do any independence or anything because it was COVID. So
Mhm.
that was my first ever match. So being thrown into the deep end like that, and then simultaneously next about 2.5 years just being in those bright lights, big crowds, working for a TV promotion, I think helped me tremendously in that respect.
That was still the Daily's Place shows, right? Because that was still the
Yep.
COVID lockdowns.
it might have been like 2 or 3 weeks before we went back on the road. I think I was one of the
Yeah.
last COVID tapings, and then we hit the road running.
Yeah. What was that experience like? Because you just mentioned your first match is on national television, but it's also no fans, or it might have been like when they still put like a limit on how many could go to the event. So what was that transition like going from first match, very small crowd, to then working with the bigger crowds as you get more experience each week?
So even though it was, nationally televised, I think if I would have went out there and it wasn't COVID and it was a jam-packed house, I'd have peed all over myself. I'd have probably fumbled huge. But having just the crowd out there that was what it was. It was just the boys and the girls out there, the extras that had worked that night or were working later, because I had to be out there for several matches as well. Every
Mhm.
time we went down, that little bit of noise made the difference, but it wasn't overwhelming.
Mhm.
Now, COVID was when I got there in February 2021, and it was unique. It was we would do two tapings back to back days and then be off the next week. We would go every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
But during the day, Cody was still there, and I think he was really pushing for like a school of some sort because we had so many young guys and there was nowhere else to go. There wasn't indies to go get reps or anything else. They hadn't had a school in place. So we would go out to the ring during the day and just roll around. And these guys they didn't have to, but they
Mhm.
would sit around and critique what they saw. Guys like Cody, guys like Jake the Snake, guys like my dad, like Tully would be out there. I remember, Dax and Cash would come out when they didn't have to, top tag team in the world. You would have all these guys walk by and say, "Hey, this was good, but maybe twist this." Dustin
Mhm.
Rhodes, all those guys, and that experience was invaluable because you couldn't get anything else at that time. So in that sense, I was very fortunate to be at AEW when I was,
Mhm.
because I was still at least learning rather than sitting home.
We also saw you. I don't if people didn't see it on Twitter. Triple H posted a picture. You and your dad were at SummerSlam. Any big takeaways or anything you learned from that experience? Because that's obviously a completely different experience than, if you haven't been to a WWE event as a fan, it's just a spectacle. But obviously, you're getting a little bit of a different experience.
Well, my God, it's a whole nother level. I mean, that was SummerSlam, so their second biggest show of the year. They brought out all the bells and whistles, and yeah, it was night and day. And I haven't worked there, but I did live in a home with somebody who worked there for 18 years,
Mhm.
and just his gripes about one particular person were were always noted. And it was to the point where I thought my dad was going to have a heart attack. Like I thought this job was going to kill him. So being there with him backstage, seeing the vibe backstage, night and day,
Mhm.
night and day, just more relaxed, more even keel. I think everybody's working for a more common good than it was probably 5 years ago, more cutthroat, sharks in the water,
Mhm.
timid atmosphere. So in that sense, it was very enjoyable to be there for SummerSlam weekend.
I'm glad to hear that. I was there too. It was a great weekend. I want to get back to Summer of the Beasts real quick. We don't know your opponent. They haven't been announced yet. Do you guys, I mean, whether you want to tease who it is or just offer a preview of what to expect, if fans are not familiar with your work in AML, and obviously this is Brock's debut in MLW, any preview for the MLW fans of what to expect on Thursday?
Most of the people should know, my work, and basically it's Brock's work as well. It's taking a page out of the Extreme Horsemen, taking a page out of the Full Horsemen. But if you go back and you know anything about Ole and Arn and Tully, things like that, that's kind of what to expect from us. Do we know what's going on? No, it doesn't matter who we step in the ring with to an extent. We're looking forward to making an impact from day one. And us being Andersons, whatever it's going to take, we're definitely going to make an impact. So that's the one thing they can look forward to when they see us come out is whoever's in the ring with us, it's going to be a tag team lesson to some extent.
Any comments from Brock you want to add to that?
I'm just excited to be at MLW. This will be my first time as a fan or as a talent stepping foot into an MLW show. And I'm excited to see what they have for us. Like we said, we have no idea what they have for us, but I think over this past year, me and C-Dub have really started to gel, and I think we're confident in our ability to basically take on anything they got that they can throw at us.
All right, here's my last question. I do a watch list feature. Is there, and this is to both of you, is there a match from your career that you've had so far that best highlights what you bring to professional wrestling?
Brock, you can go. You can answer that first.
Want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. Um, yeah, I think no, I don't know how many people saw it, but me and Danny Garcia had a match in Mohegan Sun, and I think it was for a dark tape, and it was for the pure title. And Danny, even though he's probably he might be on the smaller side, but he's a wiry, tough bastard. And me and him, we went out there and just beat the hell out of each other to the point where one point he had a front face lock on me on the ground, rear naked choke. I picked him up for a damn vertical suplex, stalling. The place blew. It was the biggest pop I think I'd got to my point in that career. And that one always sticks out to me because Danny was such a good guy to work with, and that was so fun. And I don't know how many people saw it.
CW?
I kind of have two that gives both realms, and they both come from ECW. And the first one was my November to Remember 2000 match against Kid Cash in Chicago, which shows I could work with guys of Cash's size and his ability of high flyer, that airborne versus infantry. And then I think the one I'm kind of most known for that people still talk about is my I Quit match with Dreamer at Guilty as Charged. It was January 7th, 2001, my 30th birthday. I mean, what a match to have on your 30th birthday. But those two, show like do both styles, brawl, psychology, airborne guys like Kid Cash. But those two still stick with me today as two of my favorites.
I'm laughing because I remember I was just talking to somebody about what I did on my 30th birthday. I went to a Houston Astros game because I try to go to all the MLB parks, and it was during a flash flood in Houston. So it was like the stadium itself was flooding, the highways were flooding, trying to get from there to our hotel. I was like, why did I have to plan something big for my birthday?
Just stay inside.
So you definitely had a more enjoyable 30th birthday than me.
Yeah.
So, all right. MLW Summer of the Beasts is Thursday, August 29th. You guys can check it out on YouTube if you're at home, Melrose Ballroom in New York City, if you're in the area. Anything else you two want to plug or promote before we close this out?
Well, just we're looking forward to the AML, MLW because we have AML this weekend, but MLW this coming Thursday. Looking forward to making that impact, and definitely check out that YouTube show.